Welcome to The Ride with Chevy and Nasty. Host Randy Chevrier and Sheldon Napashka guide you through great stories that spark great conversations. Two really big guys talking a big game. The boys are locked in and ready to go. Welcome to The Ride.
Welcome to The Ride, and I got to turn on my microphone, of
there you
course.
Go.
You know what? We're live, Sheldon. I'm not going to yell. I'll try not to yell. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I mean, we've been pumping this thing up all week. It really came together quickly, but we're here for two reasons. First of all, to celebrate the 111th Grey Cup, and we're doing it this year in style, live from Hitmen's Bar at Cowboys Casino in Calgary, Alberta. And Chev, what a thrill and what a road it was to get here.
Yeah, it sure was, and it took a team. We had the idea a few weeks ago, maybe a week ago.
10 days.
10 days ago, we thought, you know what? What a better opportunity for us to take this right on the road and out of our living room, your studio, and get together with as many friends as we can bring in. We got people coming in now, but we have to give a huge acknowledgement to our team, our sponsors, Performance Freight Management, We Drone Real Estate Media, Atlas Mortgage Group, Megapix YYC Business, and the Hitman's Bar for hosting us in this awesome location. If you haven't been here, guys, this place is amazing. We're going to get Jamal on the next break, but Hitman's Bar at that downtown core of Montreal.
Calgary.
I keep thinking Montreal screw job, you know, whenever you think...
No kidding.
But we're downtown Calgary in the heart of Cowboys Casino. Come and join us. We're going to be going live from 12 to 2. Then there's the Grey Cup pregame show that will be played on all the TVs, the TSN feed and all that. And then the game starts at 4. And Brett, the Hitman Hart, will be here himself. Now, Sheldon, I was going to wear a pink shirt today. But then I was a little bit nervous because I thought, you know, when we did our show way back when, people always be like, hey, Chevy, what's Nasty up today? And Nasty, what's Chevy up today? And you always assume that you know something. And I thought, what if I go there and Brett is not wearing pink? Because I just assume he wears pink all the time.
Yeah.
And then I felt kind of stupid.
Well, let me ask you this. When you go out to watch a game, if you're at the Grey Cup, would you be throwing on a 76, 56 Randy Chevrier jersey?
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't wear my own jersey.
But this might be different, right? Because for Brett, this is a brand. And so I'm kind of eager to find out what he's wearing. Does he rock the brand, or is he too big for that already? And look, if you guys come down here, you'll see there is pink literally everywhere in here among all the memorabilia. But you know what else there is here today, Chev? And this, I think we got to show this one right here.
Look at that.
We've got the belt. I don't know if this is the belt, but it is a belt.
It's a belt.
This is awesome. I can't believe I've got this on right now. This is unbelievable to be wearing this right here at Hitman's.
Well, you wear the belt. I'll wear my Grey Cup rings. I know I'm going to rub that in a little bit throughout the day.
Come on, Chef.
This is the 111th Grey Cup pregame show with Chevy and Nasty. Sheldon, you talked about brand. Hey, we got some people.
There we go.
We got some great friends. I can't even see with all the lights, but thank you for showing up. If you're in Calgary, jump in your car, come down. We'll be here from 12 to 2. We got some special guests. We got Aaron Crawford coming on, number 52 from the Calgary Stampeders. This happens to be our 52nd consecutive live episode. We got number 52 coming in.
Aaron Crawford, number 52 for the Calgary Stampeders, is joining us. Was that a setup or is that just good fortune?
Good fortune. Then we got John Bender joining us.
Yeah.
And we may have the excellence of execution himself joining us at the top of the second hour. So you're going to want to tune in. You're going to want to come in because, again, the bar right now is still starting to load up. You want to meet Bret Hart? Meet him early before everyone gets here at kickoff. But you talked about brand. Yeah. And our brand is special. We're two big guys. We love to talk. We love to have fun. But one of the things that's on brand for us is we kick off every show with a 300-pound poetry. So Trey, pushing all the buttons, doing a fantastic job setting up the show. Let's hit the splitter.
And now, 300-pound poetry with Chevy and Nasty.
It's the ride of our life, a Grey Cup pregame show. We are your 300-pound poets, and we are ready to go.
With pulse-pounding action, we won't miss a beat. From kickoff to the final whistle, this day will be a treat.
Heavily favored are the Bombers. Their quarterback's been to 5 consecutive Grey Cup games. Will he cement a legacy of the greatest of all time, or will he lose once more in shame?
And although they have so many playmakers, the Argos go into this game as the underdog in this fight because their star QB is hurt and they're starting their backup tonight.
And on this 111th Grey Cup Sunday, if you're a proud Canadian, stand up. Will it be the Bombers or the Argos hoisting Lord Earl Grey's cup?
If you're listening from within Calgary, it's time to jump into your car. We are Chevy and Nasty. Come join us live from the Hitman's Bar.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Good job, Chev.
Again, we got to thank our team for putting this together. We got Marcus, we got Trey, we got Boyan on the camera, Megapix Media, Performance Freight Management, We Drone Real Estate Media, Atlas Mortgage Group, and did I forget anyone? Megapix, YYC Business, Sheldon. It is the big day.
It is the big day. And I've got to ask you this, because not only is it a big day for the guys in Vancouver right now, it was a big day for me this morning, like just getting ready, getting down here. You've been in this situation before. Talk about what's going through the guys' minds right now as they're warming up, having breakfast, getting ready to head down to the stadium.
You know what? Everyone's a little different. I've been to 5 Grey Cups, and I've won 3. I'm not trying to rub that in, but in 5, they're all there. I know you're going to feel like I'm rubbing it in, but this is the thing. My first Grey Cup was in Edmonton, and we played in Edmonton in front of our fans. And for me, it was like an everyday game. I prepared the same way. I slept in at the time I normally sleep in. I had my regular breakfast. And I tell you what, it felt like a regular game until I got in the parkade and I turned on the car. And then, man, my heart started beating. I started sweating. I was like, I can't go back for a nap. This is it. The clock is ticking. And I'm going to tell you, you say a big day for us. It kind of felt like that today. Like, you know, we've been planning this for a week. We said, yeah, will this work? Won't it work? We prepped for the show. We talked on the phone. We did all the social media and stuff.
Yeah.
And everything was good until I got in the car. I was like, oh, crap.
So what goes through your mind then? Is it because of the thing like, oh my God, this is happening and I can't stop it? It's just moving too fast?
Well, again, you just feel like that you see this sands of time just in the corner of your mind's eye, right? Like you just see it ticking. You're like, kickoff is coming. I got to get taped. I got to get this. And then if you're a superstitious player and you have some routines and rituals, you got to make sure you're on time for those. Because if you're even behind a little bit, the magnitude of this game can wear on you. And you felt that when I played in the second Grey Cup in 2003 in Regina. It was a little bit more controlled atmosphere, but we were relaxed. We had the Halo Club. A bunch of players used to play video games between meetings. We kind of holed up in the hotel room. Same in Montreal in 2008. 2012 in Toronto, the 100th Grey Cup. That one was different. We got to Toronto. Everyone thought that Coach Jones, if you recall, was our defensive coordinator in Calgary. He moved to be the defensive coordinator in Toronto. We thought he was spying us. We thought there were cameras everywhere. They got into our heads before the game. And so preparing for that game, it was a little different, you know, and every game is different, and it depends what is going on as a team and individually as the players. And you looked at the two teams today, a lot of pressure on Winnipeg, right?
Yeah.
We said 5 Grey Cups.
All the pressure on Winnipeg.
Lots. And then Toronto, you got one guy that was 30 days from retiring from football is now leading them.
Yeah.
How do those players rally? Do they put extra pressure on themselves to do a little more? Or do they just stick to the game plan? So it's gonna be a really interesting game, Sheldon. It's gonna be fun. I'm excited. We're gonna have to take a break now.
Yep.
If you're listening to us, make sure you follow us, like and subscribe on all our socials at Chevy and Nasty. Trey's going to put up the picture right there. So Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, X, all that stuff. This episode will be available for download shortly after the show. We're going to take a break. When we get back, we're going to have Jamal Ali, the owner, one of the owners and manager of Hitmen's Bar. He's going to come in to talk a little bit about the bar, about what they offer here, the experience today, and of course, the Hitman himself. Stay tuned. We got lots going on. It's the 111th Grey Cup preview show. This is The Ride with Chevy and Nasty.
Performance Freight Management is a global logistic freight shipping company that will handle the entire shipping process for any package to any country. Whether it be a simple truck shipment from your office to Toronto or your company importing generators from China, PFM Freight handles it all. We have the expertise and technology to handle any shipping requirements. Skip the guesswork and let us take the shipping pain off your plate.
Mortgages can be confusing, and every one of your dollars count. Atlas Mortgage Group will protect you and fight for the best possible rate. They're here for you. They're here to make the mortgage process simple, accessible, and effortless. With their strong relationships with major banks and lenders, they've done $50 million in funded mortgages. 10 brokers, 30 different lenders, over 1,000 happy clients. You can be next. Atlas Mortgage Group. atlasmortgagegroup.ca.
Now open inside Cowboys Casino in the heart of downtown Calgary. Welcome to Hitman's Bar. Come for the food, the drinks, and the ambiance. You may catch a glimpse of the excellence of execution himself. Perfect for any corporate party or gathering. Hitman's Bar, the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be.
Welcome back, everybody. It's The Ride with Chevy and Nasty, episode 52, live from Hitman's Bar in Calgary, Alberta for the 111th Grey Cup preview show. And pretty exciting. I think I heard Aaron Crawford, speaking of number 52, just walked into the bar, so we're going to be having him coming up here in a few minutes. But right now, very excited to bring on the man that made this all happen, Jamal Ali, partner and host of this great party today. Jamal, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited to have you boys here. This is awesome. It's Canada's game. It's Canada's day. And to have you both here, it's an honor. It's a pleasure.
Now, first of all, we appreciate, and everyone here appreciates what we're doing. But this was also a long road for you because you've had a pretty busy weekend. You've got events coming here all the time at Hitman's Bar. You had the Logan Paul Tyson fight Friday night.
Jake Paul,
excuse me.
Logan Paul's the next one.
The wrestler. And then you had Bruce Springsteen concert overflow last night. So you opened the doors at 10 for us. So we appreciate that. Tell us a little bit about the bar and the experience we're going to get today if people come in.
Hitman's is very special. You have people from all around the world that come here, people that don't speak English, but they bond over one thing, which of course is Bret the Hitman Hart. I've been in this industry forever, and some of the stuff I've seen where a father and son are bonding over an old school wrestling match is just awesome. We have an absolutely amazing food program here. Our Chef K is absolutely awesome. Drinks named after former wrestlers and stuff like that. Bret has hand-selected most of the memorabilia, which is around the wall, and of course, the World Wrestling Federation Championship belt that he beat Ric Flair in Saskatoon is in the showcase here. So it's really cool here, yeah.
You know, and that's the thing. You talk about people coming all over the world just to experience this place. One of our sponsors, Atlas Mortgage Group, and his partner had the very same experience. He grew up saying he had two heroes in his life, his dad and the Hitman. And so he's all excited to sponsor us and come on down here. He actually got a championship belt like the one I was wearing earlier, made for him for his birthday. And he's also bringing the cardboard belt that he made when he was 10 years old. Yeah. I mean, it's amazing the impact he has.
It's absolutely amazing to see people when they actually see Bret and the stories they tell. Bret's touched so many souls and so many hearts across the entire world. I mean, he's a Canadian icon, especially for us here in Calgary. He is the man, and he's done lots of charity work, and he's doing so much for the community, and he's very involved here, and he wants to be here. He wants to talk to the guests that come here and hear the stories and share experiences. So great guy overall, a total pleasure and honor to be working with him on this project.
So Jamal, before we get to the event and get to Bret, let's take us back. What was the genesis for this idea to put this bar in the heart of Calgary? Because this, I mean, like you said, people are united because of Bret the Hitman Hart. He's an international icon. And to have this sort of showcase and not just a museum, but it's got everything. Yeah. What was the idea? Who thought that this would be a great idea, and how'd you execute?
It was a collective. His sons We're a big part of it. His son-in-law Steve was a massive part of it. We were at Brett's house, and Brett, was telling us ideas, and he has this basement filled of amazing memorabilia. And the conversations of Brett, you got to share this with the world, man. And that's kind of where it all started, and we just started working on different ideas. The space became available. We had to jump on it right away. It's been a blessing. It's been just under 2 years now. It's been very, very exciting. Always tons of special events, concerts, tons of celebrations here. We're super excited for Christmas party season coming up here. So it's been really cool. This is something so special, not just for Calgary, but also for Canada, for sure.
So just a reminder, all you guys out there, there's still time to come down here and join us live. If you leave soon, I've got a feeling this is going to be getting pretty busy here over the next couple of hours. But when folks do come in here, what are you talked about your amazing chef. What are the go-to items on the menu for today? What should Chevy and I be ordering here a little later?
Everything.
I could tell you the steak sandwich is probably the best one in town. Brett's go-to is the grilled cheese. The man could eat 20 a day. It's quite impressive. Anything on the menu, there's something for everyone. The chicken wings are probably the best in town also. So there's something for everyone, gluten-free, dairy-free. There's some vegetarian options out there too.
So come on down. And what is the signature drink? Like if someone's coming in to order one drink, I think I got the Blue Blazer cocktail one day when I came in here. I loved it. What is one of your favorites on the menu?
The Blue Blazer, of course, after Owen, his brother, which is probably the #1 seller. We do have Hitmen Ale, which is a custom beer for our bar here. The Sharpshooter, which of course is Brett's signature move, is probably one of the most popular drinks.
And what's in the Sharpshooter?
The Sharpshooter is made with gin and grapefruit. It's a beautiful cocktail, and it's great for your taste palates. It's a very user-friendly drink. Anyone could drink it, so it's great.
Yeah, and you know what? You mentioned Owen Hart. Last night, the Owen Hart Foundation had Jerry Seinfeld in town for 2 shows, I believe, in support of their foundation. So that's a great link. Let's move on. Today, we've got a full slate of activities starting with our show. And then what else do we have planned for Grey Cup as we inch towards kickoff, and then obviously the game?
As we get closer and closer, the room's going to fill up. The atmosphere is going to grow. This is probably one of the best places to watch any live sporting events. We're almost fully booked up, but we still have room. So if you're out there, you're more than welcome to come down, join us. We're going to celebrate the Bombers winning today, the Grey Cup.
There, you heard it here. You heard it here. Jamal's a Bomber guy. We got a few Bombers fans out there.
Born and raised in Winnipeg. I got to support the boys. People out there know when you're from Winnipeg, you're Winnipeg for life. So
there you go.
So who's your favorite Bomber? Who's your all-time favorite Bomber?
Oh, Matt Dunnigan. I mean,
Yeah.
Like, come on, Dunnigan's the man. He's always been the man. He'll always be the man. Dunnigan was the quarterback when I was growing up, watching him do some absolutely amazing things at the old Winnipeg Stadium.
Let me ask you this question. Winnipeg Blue Bombers, from the time that I played and Sheldon played, always were renowned for having great running backs. You think about Charlie Roberts. You think about
Mike Sellers.
Mike Sellers. You think about Brady Oliveira. Who's your favorite all-time Winnipeg Blue Bomber running back?
Zellers, probably. Yeah.
You know, it's funny you bring that up. Chev was giving me a hard time about not having any Grey Cup rings like he's got on display today. If you Google Mike Sellers CFL highlight film, I'm on that thing like 12 times.
There you go.
I'm just getting trucked when he goes up the middle. And I'm not a small guy. But Mike Sellers?
He's a big boy, but Mike was just an amazing human being also.
Yeah.
Like, he would always take time to talk to fans and do a lot of one-on-one. And the culture in Winnipeg, being a small, big town, it's really cool how the athletes there do take time to interact with everyone.
Absolutely. And big shout out to Mike Sellers. I know he's not listening right now, but Mike just recovered from open heart surgery this year. We almost lost him, but he's back and he's healthy, so that's good. Good to see everyone there. Jamal, thanks for having us.
Thank you, guys.
Like, honestly, this is a treat. We appreciate that you open your doors for us. We appreciate that we have people here. Guys, we're going to take a break in a second. Again, if you're watching at home, streaming, if you're in Calgary and you want to come down, this is going to be happening all day long, not just for our show, but it's going to be a great place to meet and greet people that have 2 common loves, wrestling and football.
And food.
And absolutely food. So we're Chevy and Nasty. This is the ride. Again, Megapix, YYC Business. We've got We Drone Real Estate Media, Performance Freight Management, Atlas Mortgage Group, and of course the Hitman's Bar, all pulled together to get this ride here today. Thank you guys for showing up live. Thank you for tuning in at home. Take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll actually talk a little bit about the Bombers and the Argos and who's got the edge in this contest.
Performance Freight Management is a global logistic freight shipping company that will handle the entire shipping process for any package to any country. Whether it be a simple truck shipment from your office to Toronto or your company importing generators from China, PFM Freight handles it all. We have the expertise and technology to handle any shipping requirements. Skip the guesswork and let us take the shipping pain off your plate.
Mortgages can be confusing and every one of your dollars count. Atlas Mortgage Group will protect you and fight for the best possible rate. They're here for you. They're here to make the mortgage process simple, accessible, and effortless. With their strong relationships with major banks and lenders, they've done 50 million in funded mortgages. 10 brokers, 30 different lenders, over 1,000 happy clients. You can be next. Atlas Mortgage Group. atlasmortgagegroup.ca.
Now open inside Cowboys Casino in the heart of downtown Calgary. Welcome to Hitman's Bar. Come for the food, the drinks, and the ambiance. You may catch a glimpse of the excellence of execution himself. Perfect for any corporate party or gathering. Hitman's Bar, the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be.
Performance Freight Management is a global logistic freight shipping company that will handle the entire shipping process for any package to any country. Whether it be a simple truck shipment from your office to Toronto or your company importing generators from China, PFM Freight handles it all. We have the expertise and technology to handle any shipping requirements. Skip the guesswork and let us take the shipping pain off your plate.
Mortgages can be confusing and every one of your dollars count. Atlas Mortgage Group will protect you and fight for the best possible rate. They're here for you. They're here to make the mortgage process simple, accessible, and effortless. With their strong relationships with major banks and lenders, they've done 50 million in funded mortgages. 10 brokers, 30 different lenders, over 1,000 happy clients. You can be next. Atlas Mortgage Group. atlasmortgagegroup.ca.
Now open inside Cowboys Casino in the heart of downtown Calgary. Welcome to Hitman's Bar. Come for the food, the drinks, and the ambiance. You may catch a glimpse of the excellence of execution himself. Perfect for any corporate party or gathering. Hitman's Bar, the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be.
And welcome back, everybody. It's The Ride with Chevy and Nasty, proudly coming to you from the Hitmen's Bar in Calgary, Alberta.
Not Montreal.
Not Montreal. Not Montreal.
What do you think about the memorabilia on the wall?
It's crazy. I mean, during the breaks and when we're getting set up here, I just took a walk around the bar and looked at everything. It just brings back memories. right? And it's incredible. For me, a lot of my memories started off when I was, a kid before I went to college and got busy with football. But guys, it's a sight to be seen. You guys got to come down here and check it out for yourselves. But there's another big event going on today, Chev, and that is the annual Grey Cup contest. And we've got an interesting one this year, right?
Yeah, it's the 111th Grey Cup, BC. Kickoffs at 4 p.m. And we got the Blue Bombers and the Argonauts, two teams that are very familiar with each other. They faced off 2 years ago in the Grey Cup. Toronto came back with 9 minutes left and handed Winnipeg their loss. But Winnipeg's been here five consecutive Grey Cups. That almost sounds like a misprint, and COVID year was canceled.
Yeah.
So
guys just sat there and got a year older and a year out of practice or a year slower. But it's crazy to me, like with 5 in a row, but only winning 2. Is that a dynasty if you walk out of there with 5 straight appearances but only 2 wins? Is that something that a team can say, hey, we made it, we were there, we're going to be remembered forever? Or is that sort of an epic failure?
I think it's a year-to-year thing. There's guys on this team this year that weren't there 5 years ago. Of course, Caleros is there, Willie Jefferson, some of those guys. Brady Oliveira came into his own over that time frame. But I think to be one of the greatest teams of all time, to be considered like the Edmonton Eskimos of the 80s, they win one more, they're there.
Yeah.
Because going 5 in a row, and Zach Caleros winning one more makes him one of the greatest quarterbacks in the CFL of all time. You got to understand, that's a big storyline. The other big storyline that we're looking at is Toronto.
Yeah.
They spent all year reeling from the suspension of Chad Kelly, hanging on, fighting tooth and nail, trying to keep up with Montreal in the top of the standings, fighting off the Red Blacks so that they can get an opportunity to get their quarterback back, get into the playoffs, and let their playmakers make plays. And they did that. They did that. And all of a sudden last week against Montreal, in Montreal towards the end of the game, Chad Kelly goes down, comes out of a pile, pulls his leg out from behind him, gruesome injury, had surgery. And today, going into the game, Toronto is starting Nick Arbuckle, a well-traveled quarterback, but he was not in their plans to be the quarterback last year this time.
Well, well-traveled means just one thing, and that means he's never been able to stick as a starting quarterback anywhere. I mean, looking back at his career, he's a career 67% guy that throws twice as many interceptions as he does touchdowns. Yet, he had two appearances this year not against Toronto, or not against Winnipeg, but he did get a chance to play a lot earlier in the season. And you know what? He beat the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. It was early in the year. It was while Winnipeg was still getting their stuff together, week 6. But he found a way to win that game. Does he have the magic to pull together for a situation like this, or is he what are we going to see from Nick Arbuckle?
Well, you know me, Sheldon. I love the underdog stories. Last year, going into the Grey Cup, we were going week in, week out, making picks. And if you recall, I had Montreal going all the way when no one gave them a shot. You look at a guy like Nick Arbuckle, he is the prototype underdog. It didn't work for me. Hang on, he's just about to retire. He wasn't even the backup quarterback going into this season. It was Cameron Dukes.
Until Chad Kelly was announced that he couldn't come in. He was brought in as an insurance player.
Yeah, and so this is almost unprecedented. And I say almost. You know why? Because this happened. This happened before. To the head coach of the Toronto Argonauts, Ryan Dinwiddie, back in, was it 2007? Jamin, what year was it?
2007. Yep,
2007. Kevin Glenn, old teammate of mine, went down right before the Grey Cup, and to play the Grey Cup, start the rookie Ryan Dinwiddie, who he didn't succeed.
Yeah.
But look where he is now. His quarterback career ended pretty quickly. I believe he went to Montreal after that. He switched right into quarterback coach, offensive coordinator. But here he is all these years later after a stint in Calgary as an OC, head coach of the Toronto Argonauts. And he can basically walk Nick Arbuckle through everything he did wrong and maybe right the wrongs of his past. Isn't that poetic?
It is poetic, but it's a tough hill to climb because, you know, the other guy you could talk to, Chad Kelly. 2 years ago, the same thing. McLeod Bethel-Thompson goes down, and Chad Kelly walks into the game. But the only difference was Chad Kelly was on an upward progression to be maybe the best quarterback in the CFL right now. Nick Arbuckle, I think the big thing for him is going to be he's going to have to leave all the past behind. He's going to have to understand that he's here for a reason. The universe is aligning. Simplify things. He's been to a couple Grey Cups before, so hopefully he doesn't have the same experience starting the car in the parkade, that he can just go in, settle in, because I can't believe that there's any pressure on Nick other than him just really wanting to do well and play
He's
for another
putting
job.
pressure on himself.
I'm sure he is.
He's absolutely putting pressure on
But
himself.
but will Dinwiddie be able to get him relaxed and focused enough so that he can just say, hey, we're going to simplify the offense, probably work in a couple of wrinkles to take the pressure off of him a little bit and just play the game?
Well, listen, you and I have played, and we've always had a problem. You ever have a coach that comes in that never played the game and now is going to tell you how to be a 6'5", 300-pound defensive lineman? The guy's 5'2", never played the game, and you're like, well, what am I going to learn from this guy? And you kind of think, well, how can he help me? Well, this is a case where he has the exact person he needs for this situation in his head coach, a guy that went through it 14 years earlier. And there's no doubt that he's going to be able to settle his mind. He's going to be able to think, what was I thinking in 2007 that maybe led to my demise, or maybe led it to be a bigger moment, and try and settle his guy down. But what are the Argonauts going to have to do around Nick Arbuckle to ensure that he can manage the game, to ensure that he can keep his poise, and ensure that he can make plays to keep the ball out of the Bombers' hands? What do you think are the keys?
Well, I think the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remind him that looking back at the Argo season, they went through some adversity early on as well. When Chad Kelly wasn't in there, Arbuckle played, they rolled some guys through, and they went 5-4. Yep. Okay? Now, the second half of the season, Chad Kelly comes in, he struggles, slowly finds his way kind of, but they did start heating up. But you know what the record was under Chad Kelly? 5-4. So what I'm really hitting home to Arbuckle is, listen, you've got the team around you. You just need someone to lead them. So the first thing we're going to see is we've got to get that offensive line blocking, because Winnipeg, defensive line, they're not the sack masters that they used to be, but they still get after a little bit. Willie Jefferson will knock down the ball. He's going to play the play, and that's something he's going to have to watch out for. But I think most importantly, they're just going to have to keep things simple, and it's a cliche, but take what the Winnipeg Bombers defense gives them, because what he can't do if they're going to win this game, we can't see him throwing 3 or 4 interceptions trying to be the world's greatest thing at quarterback.
Yeah, and for that, he's going to have to rely on Kadeem Carey. They're going to have to trust the run. It's easy to say, hey, let's put the ball in DeMonte Coxey's hands and Janarian Grant's hands, but they have to make sure that they stay true to the run to hold guys like Willie Jefferson at bay. And you know, Kadeem Carey, this is his first Grey Cup. He was the second leading rusher in the CFL, so they have the weapons. They just have to make sure they play some basic football, get the football, trust the run, and then try and take some shots. They got some really good downfield guys. But where I think the difference is going to be, and this is one of my favorite players in the league, is Janarian Grant. When the Winnipeg Blue Bombers let him go last year or after last year, this guy that can score a touchdown anytime you kick him the ball, I was like, are they crazy? They're letting go of the modern-day equivalent of Pinball Clemens. And Toronto picks him up, and he's been nothing short of spectacular. I believe he has 4 or 5
Five now, including the playoffs.
He's dangerous anytime they kick him the ball. He certainly would have a chip on his shoulder. I would have a chip on my shoulder. You know, if I'm playing for a championship team, a team that's gone to, let's say at that point, 4 Grey Cups in a row, and I feel like I'm part of the core group of guys, and you let me go, man, yeah. I'm coming back pissed off. And I expect that if Janarian Grant gets that ball today, whether it's on a kick or on offense, he's going to be running angry, he's going to be running hard, and it's going to be hard for the Bombers to stop him.
And that's actually the wrinkle I'm talking about. He's obviously been spectacular on the return game, but I think he's been underutilized in the passing game. They're trying to open up things for Chad Kelly, drop back passer, go deep. I think if the Argos can find a way to get Janarian Grant the ball in space, that they're going to have a chance. But the problem is, Chev, that Winnipeg defense, who's at the beginning of the season, questions were, are they too old? Big Hill's not playing today. They've lost a defensive back that's not playing today. Are they too old? Well, I'll tell you what, watching them versus the Riders heading into this week, they were spectacular. And while the defensive line's not always going to get the sacks that they had a couple of years ago, Richie Hall, I know he's not the defensive coordinator anymore, but Richie Hall's still the defensive coordinator. And he's finding way to send blitzes that they don't see coming. I mean, he's the master chess player of defense in the CFL, and that's got to be worrisome to Toronto.
Well, it's definitely going to be worrisome because you've got a quarterback that doesn't have a ton of starting experience, and if they can't settle him, he's going to have butterflies. He's like, anybody can say, hey, I'm calm, hey, I don't get nervous. You're nervous. You're playing in one of the biggest games of your career, and it's your first start in a long time. You're nervous. And if you let those nerves get the better of yourself and you're not necessarily watching and doing your reads, those blitzes that you talk about are going to affect them. And I think that Winnipeg definitely has the sauce to keep going. If you look at Willie Jefferson, if you look at Terrell Ford, 7 interceptions this year from the brother of Mr. Trey Ford in Edmonton, who we've talked a lot about. But yeah, when I go back to the beginning of the year and I think about how we analyze the CFL, you know, we thought, man, right out the gates, BC Lions are the runaway favorites for the Grey Cup, and Vernon Adams Jr., runaway favorite for the MOP. Things shifted.
Yep.
Things shifted. Winnipeg got Brady Oliveira back after a brief injury. Winnipeg got Kenny Lawler back after a brief injury, which also allowed us to see the greatness of Ontario Smith. And then everything came together. So what do you think is going to be the key for Zach Collaros today?
Staying pass protection. I mean, look at that Toronto Argonauts defensive line. They have 2 guys with 8 sacks, 2 guys with 6 sacks. They led the league with 48 sacks. In the 2 games, largely the reason they won the 2 games during the regular season was they had a combined 12 sacks in those 2 games. I mean, these guys are killers. I think the entire game is going to rest upon Toronto's defense, bringing it to the table, causing pressure, causing disruptions, because we all know this. Collaros sometimes looks like a world beater. He understands, he sees everything going on in front of him in slow motion. And then mysteriously, some days he just looks confused and slow. And so the question today is, will Toronto's defense be able to get to him and disrupt that game? Because if he's off even just a little bit, we're going to see some picks. If Toronto can get some turnovers out of this game, it could be a totally different ball game. But without that relentless pass rush, it's going to be a long day.
And let's not forget, Brady Oliveira struggled a bit against Toronto this year, right? The outstanding Canadian, the CFL just named, I believe Friday night, an outstanding player, most outstanding player. He struggled in 2 outings against the Argos. So he's going to have to pick up his game. But for me, where this game is going to hinge on is the play of a Canadian that not many people are talking about, Nick Dembski.
Yes.
Nick Dembski was a teammate of mine in Saskatchewan. What an awesome dude. Got traded to his hometown, Winnipeg Blue Bombers. One of the best Blue Bombers out there. Super underrated because of guys like Collaros, because of guys like Kenny Lawler, because of guys like Brady Oliveira. But he is going to be the difference maker. I believe that if they get him the ball in the air and on the ground, he will open things up for Zach Collaros to take shots downfield. He will open things up for Brady Oliveira to get those little monstrous legs pumping through the hole so he can break a big one. So I'm really excited to see how Winnipeg is going to have to alter some of their game plan, like you said, to adjust to Toronto's very ferocious pass rush and front 7. So it's going to be interesting. I don't think it's a shoo-in for Blue Bombers. I know a lot of people think, well, Toronto's the big-time underdog because of the weapons we mentioned, Janarian Grant, because of Kadeem Carey, because of Devontae Coxey, and their defensive line, Jake Serezna. I can't even say the other guys, the Florian.
Yeah.
Because of those guys, the game is a lot closer than I think people think it is.
You know what? I'll tell you what. That's what they said about Friday night with Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. Guys, I'll tell you what. I don't know what's going to happen in this game. Is probably on paper is going to be a mismatch and a blowout. But every now and then magic happens. And I think there are certain stars that can align to make this one a classic. So I guess we're just going to have to wait until just after 4 o'clock and see a kickoff.
Absolutely. And you mentioned stars aligning. You mentioned magic. Well, stars aligned to get us here at the Hitmen's Bar, downtown Calgary. If you have an opportunity, come down here, bring some friends. It's a fantastic location. We're going to be here live till 2 p.m. Then we're off the air. We're going to be watching the pregame, kicking it with everyone else. 4 p.m. kickoff. The excellence of execution himself, Brett the Hitman Hart, is coming. He might even make an appearance on our show. We're going to take a quick break. When we get back, for our 52nd live consecutive episode. We didn't plan this. We got number 52 from the Calgary Stampeders. Aaron Crawford's going to join us next. Stay tuned. Grab a drink, have a pee, come back. We got lots of action here on The Ride with Chevy and Nasty.
Performance Freight Management is a global logistic freight shipping company that will handle the entire shipping process for any package to any country. Whether it be a simple truck shipment from your office to Toronto or your company importing generators from China, PFM Freight handles it all. We have the expertise and technology to handle any shipping requirements. Skip the guesswork and let us take the shipping pain off your plate.
Mortgages can be confusing and every one of your dollars count. Atlas Mortgage Group will protect you and fight for the best possible rate. They're here for you. They're here to make the mortgage process simple, accessible, and effortless. With their strong relationships with major banks and lenders, they've done $50 million in funded mortgages. 10 brokers, 30 different lenders, over 1,000 happy clients. You can be next. Atlas Mortgage Group. atlasmortgagegroup.ca.
Now open inside Cowboys Casino in the heart of downtown Calgary. Welcome to Hitman's Bar. Come for the food, the drinks, and the ambiance. You may catch a glimpse of the excellence of execution himself. Perfect for any corporate party or gathering. Hitman's Bar, the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be.
And welcome back to the ride with Chevy and Nasty. We're live at Hitmen's Bar. We want to thank Performance Freight Management, We Drone Real Estate Media, Atlas Mortgage Group, Megapix YYC Business, and of course, the Hitman's Bar for hosting us. We're live from 12 p.m. till 2 p.m. It's the 111th Grey Cup day, Grey Cup Sunday. And joining us right now from the Calgary Stampeders, actually, I have the honor of saying he was a teammate of mine, number 52, Aaron Crawford. Welcome to the show, buddy.
Appreciate you guys having me.
Right on. So, Aaron, you're from Medicine Hat, Alberta, correct?
Born and raised.
So, for you growing up, were you born into a football family, or were you like the traditional? You played hockey, some baseball, what was your story?
Definitely more of a hockey family. I had an older brother who was a phenomenal athlete. Hockey was his thing, and my dad had played a little football. And so when that came around, I was actually reluctant, but was able to jump in at like Pee Wee when it first started. It was a new thing, so I figured I'd try it, and then that was game over.
Yeah, so the tuning fork went off when you're like 12 years old, and you just had to do it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right on. Now growing up, close enough to Calgary, did you ever catch any of the live Grey Cup games here, or like at what point did Grey Cup become like the mecca for when I'm just in love with this game and I want to win that championship?
Well, the first people I met that were like on TV, like famous people, was Athletes in Action, so like Alondra Johnson,
yeah,
and like Pinball Clemens came to Medicine Hat. Like these are Joe Monfort. These are larger than life dudes, and first ever like professional or famous people that I ever met. And then that dialed me in. Probably around grade 8 is when I was like, wow, like this is something like you can be from Canada, from Medicine Hat, whatever, and make a career out of something and be kind of famous.
Yeah.
Okay, but I got to ask you a question. We have a great time. We got Aaron Crawford here. I got to ask you, what point in your life did you realize you could get paid as an adult human being to throw a ball between your legs? Because I had that at one point, and I milked it for 16 years, and now you're doing it. What point was that when you're like, hey, wait a second, why do I got to get hit all the time? Maybe if I throw a ball between my legs and run downfield, I get hit once in a while. When did that hit you? When did you start long snapping?
I started long snapping kind of as an emergency. My first time in junior, right before university, we had a long snapper get injured. And so I did the old one hand, throw the ball between the legs. And I did that a couple times in college in relief of Ryan King, who was a phenomenal snapper. Played for Edmonton for a long time.
Yep.
And I went to the Dwayne Ford camp, and I stayed after practice as a defensive player. And did that after some of the workout stuff and testing. And he said, you'll be a good long snapper one day. And I just kind of was like, I'm here to hit people. I'm going to be a linebacker kind of thing. And then, after many short stints with teams, I had a little an opportunity come when a snapper got hurt in Hamilton, and took over for them, and the rest is kind of history there.
So let me ask you about that, though.
You got to tell them about the bitter Canadian long snapper.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's too. Well, yeah. I'll tell you that story in a second. But so we're talking about how Grey Cup Sunday, Randy woke up for his first one feeling fine until he got in the car. Today we're driving down here like, oh my God, are we going to be able to pull this off? Now, I almost went into the game as a backup long snapper once. What was your first in-game long snap like? That had to have been terrifying.
absolutely terrified because, like I said, at the time I wasn't taking long snapping seriously as a job. It was something I was like, if I do this, I keep my foot in the door until I can prove I can do something else. And so when I got the call, like, hey, you're in, he's down, that was, and also, so my first game I actually started was in Montreal, and I was 3 days into my 10-day regiment of antibiotics for strep throat. I was dying, but I was like, this is my last shot. I'd already been cut 5 times from other teams. I was like, if I don't show up today, so there's a ton of pressure on that game.
And you know, a lot of folks don't realize this, but when I was almost about to go in, we're playing the BC Lions, and I'm up there long snapping, hoping that Tyson St. James was going to get this nod because Randy Straczynski was hurt. And I'm up there like snapping, and the special teams coach from the Lions walks up and is standing like 4 feet from me and is timing my snaps. I was like, "Oh, dude, this guy! Well, we're gonna get killed if I go into the game, right?" But yeah, it's intimidating.
Oh yeah.
And you know, but for a Canadian, for a young kid, you know, I have 2 boys now that play football. We tell all the kids, the more you can do, the more you can get on a team, right? Like, you know, we all left university being the best at what we did. We all were the best. Otherwise, we wouldn't have played where we got. You know, I left university, you know, a great defensive lineman. When I got to the CFL, it wasn't that kept me there, right? It was the ability to be accurate, to get the ball where it needs to be so that, you know, Renee can become the greatest kicker of all time, or Cody Grace or Rob Maver before him could become the greatest punters of all time, making sure the ball gets there. And people don't understand how important that skill is because usually they don't pay attention to it and how much work it goes into. So how much work, like when did you start really getting serious? Because you said, I was doing it. What was that turning point where you said, hey, this is how I got to do it and this is what will get me there?
Well, like that was the thing is I put a ton of work into like my defensive prep and all that kind of stuff. And then being in that room, I'd never been in a special teams room. So once I got into the special teams room, kickers are artists, man. Like what they do is special. And realizing that if I don't put that work into what I do, I'm messing up their effort, their work, all the stuff that I'd be doing, you know, and you get mad at a teammate who messes up a play because, you know, you put effort in, you study, and something goes wrong. It's like, this is my stunt, man. Like, help me out, you know. So I realized that, like, I'm involved in letting them do their thing. And if I don't, and, like, me not taking it seriously, could throw them off the game and, like, make them look less than what they've done and that kind of. So just trying to be there as a good teammate for those guys so they can do what they do is a whole different level of commitment.
So last week we saw with San Francisco 49ers, Samuels gets a little hot-headed with a kicker and the long snapper jumps in to defend his honor. Have you ever had to do that for Renee or any of your other kickers over the years?
So Renee's got a pretty good amount of respect around the league, and I think everybody knows if they touched him, it'd be more than me jumping him. But I've had a couple incidences like Liram Harlau, who's kicking today, and also with Sergio, where guys like somebody, you know, Sergio hurt his knee, and we thought when it happened, like somebody took a shot, but watch later in film it wasn't. But at the time, you were near him, you're getting it, you know, whatever like that. Same thing when you know, kickers try and make plays on misses or kickoffs and that kind of stuff, and then people try and take a liberty. So if I happen to be out there, then I'll come over and say hello. And
let me ask you this, because what I've noticed in my career is a lot of the antics between kickers and the opposing team happen in the pregame warm-up. You know, the kickoff, Renee's doing a kickoff, he's kicking it deep, it hits where the quarterback is doing his back pedal on the other side. I got into it with Kerry Joseph and another time with Dave Stalla. Did you play with Dave Stalla in Hamilton?
Yeah.
So I got into it with Dave Stalla when he was chirping Rob Maver because Dave Stalla could do everything, quarterback, punt, kick, whatever, and he was chirping our punter who was a rookie at the time. And I found the pregame is when the antics always happen. Do you have any good pregame stories where you got into it with someone?
We had a couple, like Purifoy had come across a couple times. We was in Sask and different things like that where guys were chirping the kickers a little bit. But like I remember I was with Stalla when he was doing that kind of stuff. Like, so watching him, he was a master at pregame.
Oh yeah, he was
gamesmanship
stuff.
And I also was playing with Simone Lawrence, who was also another guy. So my era, I happened to be on the side of the guys who were the pregame kind of powerhouse talkers. But haven't had too many issues since then. Yeah.
So today's the 111th Grey Cup. You've been dreaming about it from the time you're born, and you've made it to a couple. But like myself, you know, Randy's sitting here, and folks, it's not 3 rings. He's got a 4th one here on another finger. Is that a Grey Cup ring as well?
No, that's the Tom Pate.
Okay, there you go. Okay, he's just got 3, so it's not that special.
No.
But you know what? Talk about your first Grey Cup game then, because you fought to get into the league, and you had to earn a spot. And once you got it, you never let it go. The next year you're in there, though, second year as a pro.
Yeah.
You're off to the Grey Cup.
Yeah.
What did that feel like?
Well, my first year as a snapper, like I started snapping after Labor Day in 2014, and we went to the Grey Cup against Calgary that year.
Same year.
Yeah, so
That was
same year.
2014. We played against each other.
Yeah, and let's say I wasn't as polished as I was now because our snapper who had just gone through knee surgery midway through the season was possibly going to make a comeback for that game. So during the week leading up, he'd come out and snapped a couple times, and obviously it's just way too early for that kind of injury, but when you have a good chemistry with the kicker, you know how it is when they everything just is so smooth. You're used to how a guy snaps, where the ball's going to go, and it's all like second nature. So I get it now, but at the time I was feeling hot under the collar, like, oh man, like I'm fighting against a guy with one leg here.
Yeah.
And that was a big game, right? Because I remember that game went down to the wire. I didn't play in that game that year. I actually had a different Grey Cup experience. I was asked to be on the IR for the season. I believe my good buddy Tim St. Pierre was playing fullback and snapping, but that game took a bunch of twists. You guys got up early. We lost our kicker. Rob Maver got knocked out. Renee wound up having to punt. Yeah, so we lost our punter.
I forgot about it. Oh, that was a crazy one.
That was a wild game. There was a blocked field goal by DeMonte Bolden right towards the end, and the big return with the penalty. Carl,
I was a champion for like 45 seconds.
Yeah. What was that? Speedy Banks had the big return, and then there was a holding call on
block in the back on Taylor Reed.
Yeah, Taylor Reed. And
not that you're like
not that I think
keeping track of
not
these
that
things.
not that you're keeping track, but you guys were champions for about 4 seconds, and then we took it home. And that was my last one. Again, it was a special moment for me because I was really involved in the game. I was there with my kids, got to see it and be part of it from a different perspective. Obviously, I wanted to play, but my contribution to that team was no less. But that was a crazy experience. And then fast forward a couple more years, you play in another Grey Cup
in Calgary against Winnipeg.
Tell us a little bit about that one.
Well, that's the thing. It's kind of a role reversal for Winnipeg this year because we were sitting in their seat, kind of the favorite going in. We beat them twice that year. It was, everything was looking like it was going to go our way, and maybe that overconfidence played a little bit into it. But they had Zach had just joined the team, that kind of thing. So you're doing everything kind of trying to keep it the same as you always do. But whatever happened in that game, we came out, and Winnipeg was just on a different level. They were doing different things. They changed so much up, and we just couldn't get out from underneath it. We did, our offense was struggling to the point where we actually got to run a fake field goal that we drew up in a back room like 3 weeks earlier.
Yeah,
we got a first
just
down.
to get some offense. Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. And that's interesting because we're talking about that Toronto's going to have to find a way, and they've got the advantage because they are going to get a chance to maybe change things up a little bit. They're going to have to, right? Now, I'm far removed from the game, and I haven't played in a Grey Cup. In my mind, like Tyson and Jake Paul, maybe there's a chance. Yeah. Like, from your standpoint, honestly, hand on the heart, can you go in there with a backup quarterback who hasn't seen a lot of action, some success this season? Like, what is Toronto going to have to do if they have a hope of beating BC today, or Winnipeg today?
Do what they always do. Like, Arbuckle isn't a slouch. He's a good quarterback. And, guys like Kadeem Carey, you mentioned, like there's, Ray Oliver is an outstanding running back. Kadeem Carey is a different animal. He's a playmaker. Like, there's something about him and his game that it's an intangible. Toronto's defense is amazing. Their special teams has been dialed all year. They're a little banged up, and that kind of stuff, so we'll see how that goes. But I think the potential positive is if the rest of the team is going in realizing like, hey, there's extra on the quarterback, there's extra on the offense, and they put just a little bit extra on themselves, not pressure, but just a little more in the preparation, a little more in that, it could be like a 2019 situation where they come out and Winnipeg doesn't know what to do.
So let me ask you this question, Aaron. Because you're playing your current player, you have some experience across the league. You got players that you've played with now playing on both teams, both the Bombers and the Argos. You mentioned Calaros, a couple of other guys, a lot of former Stamps on the Toronto team and coaches. Part A, who you pulling for? B, who's going to win?
Honestly, I'm just cheering for special teams mostly this game because I've worked with both these kickers for a couple years. Yep. But, it's tough. I want there to be like I was a Detroit Red Wings fan, and they're a dynasty and that kind of stuff. And a dynasty, you need to win championships. That's the bar. If you don't win championships, you're not a dynasty. So part of me wants to see that in the CFL, and part of me loves that for Winnipeg. But at the same time, everybody loves an underdog story. I followed a little bit of Arbuckle's story. I seen kind of that CFL bounced around, whether he was done dirty or not here or there, he's gone through it. And, to be able to go and have a chance to exit like that if he wants to exit or rejuvenate his career. So it's like there's that Cinderella story aspect on there. So there's aspects of this game on both sides that I'm a big fan of, you know. So I love Zach. I played with Zach for a lot of years and that kind of stuff. I think he's an awesome quarterback. We came in together in Toronto. That quarterback room was insane.
Yeah.
I was like Ricky Ray, Jarius Jackson, Trevor Harris, and Zach Caleros all in the
Forgot
same room.
Jarius Jackson was there too.
Yeah.
That's
So,
right.
so who's got the edge on long snapper? If you're going to make an analysis, if the game comes down to a final kick, okay, and you got I know you follow all the long snappers in the league. We always do. Who's got the better guy? Who's the guy that's more clutch?
See, we have two different snappers here. I think the edge will go to Benson because he's been there
around.
and he's done that.
Yep.
You know, he's reliable. I believe the pressure's not going to get to him and that kind of stuff. He's been to how many Grey Cups now? He's been there for this ride. He was in BC before that, so he's very familiar with BC Place and he's familiar with championship games. Now, the young guy, he's a little bit better of a downfield, you know, that kind of stuff. So Toronto has an edge when it comes to like the cover aspect. But when it comes to the actual operation, if it comes down to a last-minute field goal, like those pressure situations, Benson's got.
So Aaron Crawford said it first. The Toronto long snapper is going to mess up in the game. That's a great prediction.
There you go. Folks, I'll tell you what, only on the Chevy and Nasty Show will you find the analysis of the long snappers to determine who's going to win this game. But Aaron, I'll tell you what, it's awesome to have you on here. And folks, we're going to bring him back for a long-form interview one of these days. His story is absolutely remarkable. His journey into the CFL and what it took for him to stick. And now since he's stuck, you're 38 years old.
Yeah,
Just turned 38 years old. Hey, Chevy played into his 40s, dude.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah,
That's why I came.
keep yourself in shape.
45,
Keep
yeah.
yourself in shape. Yeah.
Listen,
that's it.
guys, we got to take a break, right? We're going to take a break. We're live at the Hitman's Bar. I don't know, what time is it? It's it's at the top of the hour. So we're live at the Hitman's Bar. We're going to be here for another hour on air. We got Big John Bender showing up. We got the Hitman showing up. He's going to come, and I think he's going to come online. We're brought to you by Megapix YYC Business, We Drone Real Estate Media, Atlas Mortgage, and Performance Freight Management, and, of course, the Hitman's Bar. Festivities are taking place all day. It started at noon. We're going right up until kickoff and beyond. Come check out the game. Come have a sharpshooter. Come have the drink. Come have the grilled cheese sandwich. Everything is good. Jamal was telling us what's on the menu after the show. Grilled cheese sandwich and a sharpshooter for me, for sure. Guys, when we get back, we're going to chat a little bit more and then welcome the big man, the 6'10", John Bender. Thanks, Aaron, for showing up.
Appreciate you having me, guys.
Appreciate you, man.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, brother.
Performance Freight Management is a global logistic freight shipping company that will handle the entire shipping process for any package to any country. Whether it be a simple truck shipment from your office to Toronto or your company importing generators from China, PFM Freight handles it all. We have the expertise and technology to handle any shipping requirements. Skip the guesswork and let us take the shipping pain off your plate.
Mortgages can be confusing and every one of your dollars count. Atlas Mortgage Group will protect you and fight for the best possible rate. They're here for you. They're here to make the mortgage process simple, accessible, and effortless. With their strong relationships with major banks and lenders, they've done $50 million in funded mortgages. 10 brokers, 30 different lenders, over 1,000 happy clients. You can be next. Atlas Mortgage Group. atlasmortgagegroup.ca.
Now open inside Cowboys Casino in the heart of downtown Calgary. Welcome to Hitman's Bar. Come for the food, the drinks, and the ambiance. You may catch a glimpse of the excellence of execution himself. Perfect for any corporate party or gathering. Hitman's Bar, the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be.
Performance Freight Management is a global logistic freight shipping company that will handle the entire shipping process for any package to any country. Whether it be a simple truck shipment from your office to Toronto or your company importing generators from China, PFM Freight handles it all. We have the expertise and technology to handle any shipping requirements. Skip the guesswork and let us take the shipping pain off your plate.
Mortgages can be confusing and every one of your dollars count. Atlas Mortgage Group will protect you and fight for the best possible rate. They're here for you. They're here to make the mortgage process simple, accessible, and effortless. With their strong relationships with major banks and lenders, they've done $50 million in funded mortgages. 10 brokers, 30 different lenders, over 1,000 happy clients. You can be next. Atlas Mortgage Group. atlasmortgagegroup.ca.
Now open inside Cowboys Casino in the heart of downtown Calgary. Welcome to Hitman's Bar. Come for the food, the drinks, and the ambiance. You may catch a glimpse of the excellence of execution himself. Perfect for any corporate party or gathering. Hitman's Bar, the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be.
And welcome back, everybody. It's The Ride with Chevy and Nasty, coming to you live from Hitmen's Bar in Calgary, Alberta. And Chev, this has been fun.
You know what? This is really fun. If we take a deep breath now, because we've been powered through that first hour, went faster than we thought. Take a deep breath and think about years and years ago when we did the Chevy and Nasty show. And we did a couple of lives.
Yeah.
And we knew we could do it. But in those days, we just showed up and everything was set up. There was a Fan 960, we were on that radio station, which that was what they do.
Yeah.
And we'd show up, we'd talk sports, we'd have fun, we'd meet with the people. And then fast forward all these years later, you and me, Trey, and some of our big supporters running a podcast off our laptops from our living rooms, get the crazy idea to do a live Grey Cup preview show from the Hitman Bar just because the Hitman's going to be here, and why not?
But let's be honest, the real crazy thing about that was that they actually said yes.
Yeah,
10 days before their planned event, they said, sure, we'll get you guys in here. Let's go.
Yeah, and they being Jamal, who was on the show. If you haven't had a chance to catch the first hour, please go back. The first hour was fantastic. But Jamal, owner and manager of the Hitman Bar, says, yeah, why not? Let's do this. And at the ground level, the grassroots, one of the things I realized is that you could think about things all you want, but if you never take a step forward, towards a dream, you'll never get any closer to achieving it. And you might not know what to do. Like, I know how to do this part. And I don't know how to do the part that Adam's doing or Boyan's doing or Trey's doing.
But like going to the Grey Cup, you have to have an amazing team.
Yes.
And this is what just excited me so much about this, watching the guys come together with Megapix and Enta Solutions and all these amazing people that are so good at what they do and put it together in short notice for us.
Absolutely. And let's just make sure we give a little love to those amazing people. We got Performance Freight Management. We've got We Drone Real Estate Media, Atlas Mortgages, Megapix YYC Business, where you can find our show streaming every week, and the Hitman's Bar. Because this wouldn't happen. I don't think we would have done this if it wasn't the right spark of an idea when we saw that the Hitman was going to show up here for the game and decide, well, why don't we do a pregame show? And here we are. It's a fantastic experience. Again, come down. We're going to be here on air till 2. We got another hour. Come down. They got great food, the best steak sandwich in town. Brett the Hitman Hart's favorite is the grilled cheese.
And that's what I'm excited about. And he says he puts those things down, so I might get like 2 or 3 of those brought to me on a plate here after the show.
Yeah, I am excited. You know, the only thing that I wish could happen in a few more years from now, if we keep doing this, is that my kids can come. Right?
Yeah.
Because we're in the Cowboys Casino in the heart of downtown Calgary, but it's okay. My kids are still sleeping in and playing Fortnite.
Do you know some of the production crew even got ID'd as they came into here carrying like camera bags and all that stuff?
Oh, absolutely.
So, yeah.
I mean, this is a first. We're so happy to be here. It's the 111th Grey Cup Sunday taking place in BC. Kickoff is at 4 p.m. So kickoff is not far. It's 3 hours away, Sheldon.
Yeah.
3 hours away from the kickoff to the 111th Grey Cup. The Grey Cup, the oldest professional sports trophy in North America, started as a rugby trophy. I've got my name on it twice. Actually, the story is you only get your name on the Grey Cup if you played in the game. So I've got 3 rings. But in 2014, I mentioned before with Aaron Crawford, I didn't play in that game. I was asked to take a leadership role, as they call it, which I learned that year. That was my role. And I didn't get my name on the cup that year. So I've got it twice, 2003, 2008, but not 2014.
So obviously that's not the same feeling as being in the game and contributing, but you contributed to the team throughout the season. How was that? Because we talked about winning the game. We talked about losing the game. We talked about not even making it to the game. What was that like that year, later in your career, when you're like, hey, we're going to go on without you, but we need you in the room? Was it still meaningful?
Yeah, first of all, it was tough. You're a professional athlete. I'm a professional athlete. You don't train to sit on the bench. 3 games into the season, when I got the tap on the shoulder that they want to fix things up in the roster, it was a real tough pill to swallow. I had experienced it a few years earlier in 2011 or 2012, and then a few years before that when I was no longer playing D-line. The first 2 times I didn't handle it the first time I didn't handle it so well. The second time, it was a real limbo for me. I was wondering, well, is this the end of my career? By the time I got there, I decided that I was going to just be the best teammate possible. I didn't complain. I got to the stadium early every day. I stayed late. I helped the guys out. My good friend, Tim St. Pierre, who took my job that year. He's a Calgary police officer now. I helped him every step of the way. I did what I thought it would take to get our team to the Grey Cup from the standpoint that I could control. And you asked me about this ring. I got my 3 Grey Cup rings. These are like, this is the ultimate team prize to get this ring. But this ring means so much to me because this is the Tom Pate Memorial Award. And I won that in 2014 from the bench, sitting in the back of the meeting rooms.
Yeah.
From when you have like young guys that said, who's that 38, 39-year-old guy sitting in the back of the room that doesn't play, he practices, and he doesn't have much contribution to the offense or defense? Like, who is that guy? And by the end of the season, my team had to nominate me with the Herm Harrison Award that the Calgary Stampeders give out that eventually led me to winning the Tom Pate for sportsmanship, community contribution, motivation. So for me, although athletically it was very hard not to play in that game, the journey, the ride, as we call it, that I went on that year, the transformation that I went from, hey, it's all about me, to, hey, it's all about the team, means so much more. That picture that I have with me, not in pads, on the stage with my kids hoisting the Grey Cup as the confetti's falling, is one of my most favorite sports pictures, and I didn't put my hand in the dirt once.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, you just won up to me again because I was a Tom Pate nominee with the Rough Riders, but I never won it in the league. So thanks a lot. That's another ring I'm missing here, folks. But I'll tell you from my standpoint, like not playing in the game, dreaming of it from the time I was a kid. You heard Aaron say it was when he was playing Pee Wee football. It wasn't until I was in high school that I dreamt of winning the Grey Cup. Not winning it, I'll tell you what, I was a little bitter, and it was a hard experience even watching the games in the coming years. But the standpoint of being able to stand there and truly develop your character to say that I can make a difference, I will make a difference. Because you know what the easy thing would have been was to walk around there moping.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So you had to actually bring your best to actually contribute. And because you did that, you feel like you earned the ring.
Absolutely. And, if we're being authentic and real, I've spoken to many guys that didn't play in a Grey Cup, got a ring, and they've pawned their rings off.
Sure, yeah.
It didn't mean as much to them. But for me, it was a journey. It was a journey. And, to put a cap on that story, because of the attitude I chose that year, I actually got an opportunity to come back to camp the year later in 2015, and I did win my job back. If I chose, like you said, to mope, badmouth the guy that took my spot, be a negative teammate, I would not have had an opportunity to get one more ride.
Yeah, there you go. One more ride.
We got to take a break, Sheldon.
Oh, all right.
Well, it's 1:10. We got the biggest guest of the day showing up, literally the biggest guest of the day. Guys, we're going to take a quick break here. We're at Hitmen's Bar, downtown Calgary. Come and join us. We're the Ride with Chevy and Nasty. When we get back, Stampeder alumni, one of the biggest yet nicest dudes you'll ever meet. Big John Bender is going to join us, and that's coming up in about 2 minutes. You're going to want to tune in for this.
Performance Freight Management is a global logistic freight shipping company that will handle the entire shipping process for any package to any country. Whether it be a simple truck shipment from your office to Toronto or your company importing generators from China, PFM Freight handles it all. We have the expertise and technology to handle any shipping requirements. Skip the guesswork and let us take the shipping pain off your plate.
Mortgages can be confusing and every one of your dollars count. Atlas Mortgage Group will protect you and fight for the best possible rate. They're here for you. They're here to make the mortgage process simple, accessible, and effortless. With their strong relationships with major banks and lenders, they've done $50 million in funded mortgages. 10 brokers, 30 different lenders, over 1,000 happy clients. You can be next. Atlas Mortgage Group. atlasmortgagegroup.ca.
Now open inside Cowboys Casino in the heart of downtown Calgary. Welcome to Hitman's Bar. Come for the food, the drinks, and the ambiance. You may catch a glimpse of the excellence of execution himself. Perfect for any corporate party or gathering. Hitman's Bar, the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be.
Welcome back. It is the Ride with Chevy and Nasty special Grey Cup preview edition for the 111th Grey Cup. Kickoff is at 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time in British Columbia between the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, Toronto Argonauts. But before the game, we got so much going on here live at Hitman's Bar. And on our show, we got one of the biggest dudes we know. He's got to be my tag team partner one day. Big John Bender. John, welcome to the Ride with Chevy and Nasty.
Yeah, thanks guys for having me. This is awesome.
Give him a big round of applause.
Let's hear it.
I don't think we found a chair big enough for you, man.
I knew John was special back in my early days with the Stampeders when they were already had your whole career planned out, and I think you're just going from. Were you playing in Cochrane, and then you went down to the States and played ball?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So when I was in high school, I played at Cochrane High. My high school offensive line coach was John Forzani, who eventually bought the Stampeders. My high school basketball coach was Ted Hellard, who eventually also part of the Stampeders group that when they bought there. And then played with Rob Cote in high school, went down to the University of Nevada. And yeah, they had eyes on me the whole time, hoping they could get me back to play with the Stampeders, and eventually worked out.
So let's back it up a bit. You're a big farm kid. You mind if someone calls you a big farm kid?
Absolutely.
From Three Hills, Alberta. You make your way to Cochrane. Well, how did you get from Three Hills to Cochrane? Because I know Cochrane's a powerhouse, but Three Hills is not close to Cochrane.
Yeah, no, it's not. So when I was in high school, I was playing basketball and track and field. I was throwing shot put and discus, and I was finishing, getting getting, first, second, third nationally in shot and discus, and thought, I should go to a bigger high school, have an opportunity there. Ended up in Cochrane. I had an uncle that lived in Bearspaw, moved in with him, and started going to Cochrane High in grade 11, grade 12. And, I was one of those kids that, at age 16 left home and, chased the dream and, ran that for a decade, and it was good. Just a lot of great experiences along the way, and met a lot of great guys that you'll have as lifetime friends for sure.
So I'm reading the notes here. It was described that you were part of one of the greatest recruiting classes of all time for the Nevada Wolfpack, right?
Right.
Who were some of the other athletes that were recruited that year?
So you might have heard of Colin Kaepernick. He was the prize jewel of that class, I suppose. Dante Moak was a third-round pick of the Cincinnati Bengals. The other ones would be Virgil Green, played for a decade in the NFL. And for a school like Nevada to have, 5 or so guys that went to the NFL from that draft class is pretty rare. Then myself going pro with the Stampeders. So, yeah, they won the WAC championship in 2005, got a great recruiting class after that. And then in 2010 went 13-1, finished ranked number 11 in the nation. And, for a school like Nevada to be ranked ahead of schools like Alabama and Michigan that year was pretty special for the school. And every time I go back to Reno, people have lots to say and don't have to pay for too many beers if I'm going out there. So it's a nice spot.
Yeah, there you go. And you've never really left the game. Like, I still hear you everywhere, whether it's as sports analyst, getting on different shows and podcasts, things like that. Talk a little bit about what you're doing now with your life and your involvement with football.
Yeah, for sure. I always wanted to get back to the game a little bit. So what I do now is I'm a financial planner. I'm working out of Brookfield Place, downtown Calgary. Been doing that for 12 years, have a great client base, really enjoy it. But to get out to football practices from 4 to 7 p.m. every day is pretty difficult because that's when a lot of my client meetings are. So what I've been doing is a lot of media. And what I've been doing with media is people have offered me like exclusive rights deals. Do you want to work with us exclusive? And I just say no. I'm okay to just go chat with whoever. I don't need to make any money from it. If I can just go chat, get back to the game, tell people my story, tell some other people, get more people involved in football, then the better.
And every time, there's two things. There's John, obviously the business person that I don't know too much about your business. I don't see it. But when you're on the air, you talk college football, NFL, CFL. And then not only do you do that, but your involvement with the Calgary Stampeders alumni, it takes a lot to get back to play for your hometown team, to get drafted by the Stampeders, to play like you did. Your career was cut short. You had injury, staph infection, I believe, and then, it just didn't click for you. But yeah, here you are. You give back to that alumni community very selflessly. I follow you on Instagram, at John Bender. Is that where people can find you?
At johnw.bender, that's right.
At johnw.bender. You follow John every week. He's bringing more and more people to CFL games. When you talk about the Grey Cup and what it means and what we have here, the community of people hanging out, getting ready for this game that brings us together, every week I see John Bender bringing, it started as 5 people, 6 people. This year I see a caravan of 20, 30 people tailgating. Wow. That's what the CFL is, and that's what it needs. People like you, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's been great to get more people involved, and I think the constant story I tell people is I bring people to games, and they tell me that was great. I want to come again. I enjoy that. I want to bring more people. And then, you throw a couple tailgate parties. I had 2 tailgate parties this year, and I have over 50 people show up. Nice. So, great events, got a lot of people out, and now they're asking, is that every week? I don't know about every week, but I can put it together maybe once or twice a year and, have a lot of fun with it.
So for the game today, what are you following as the storyline for what's going down in Vancouver today?
So I think always as a former player, Chevy, you guys can probably both attest to this, the quarterback conversations get tiring, right? And it would be very interesting if the Toronto Argos with Nick Arbuckle, somebody the entire league has had as a quarterback in the last few years almost, right? I think he's played for 6 of the 9 teams. Yep. If he can lead them to a championship, I think that tells more of the story of what happens on the O-line and the D-line and what happens in those wide receiver rooms and the playmakers that can have them, from special teams and on down. So I think that's a very interesting storyline because you essentially have a quarterback who's, second, third string on most teams in the league, and can he lead his team to a Grey Cup championship? And in that biggest moment, can he be the guy? And then you have another team with, the Blue Bombers 5 straight years in the Grey Cup. They had to tear it out of the Calgary Stampeders' hands, being the best team in the West. And, look at the other teams in the West haven't had an opportunity to go in a long time because it's just been Stampeders and Blue Bombers here. And are they able to extend this? And then, do they win? And then how excited is everyone for the Grey Cup in Winnipeg next year for the opportunity to win it at home?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stories to be told here. It'll be exciting to see it come through.
So Kadeem Carey, Aaron Crawford was talking about this earlier. He's a special guy. Like I know he's maybe underutilized with the Stampeders, although he put up a lot of great numbers, but seen a real resurgence in his career and just dominating at times. Do you see that Toronto offensive line, who's strong? I mean, that is a strong line. Do you think they can get Kadeem Carey 60, 80, 100 yards rushing in this game to take some of the pressure off of the quarterback?
I think they better, because that's going to be their opportunity to win. They're going to have to lead on that run game, play great defense, play great special teams. So I think a guy like Kadeem Carey is a great running back in the league. He'll have an opportunity here to, I hope he gets 15 to 20 touches. He has an opportunity to really carry the team, and they have a great offensive line on both sides for both teams there, and they can play bully ball at some point. That's going to be a great opportunity for them.
To take off Sheldon's question, your former O-line coach, Chris Sweet, was in Calgary.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about how he prepares his guys for a challenge. We know Chris Sweeter. He's a good buddy. He could be fiery.
Right.
We got their center, Calgary. He's from Calgary, so we got a lot of Calgary connections there.
Yeah, I think that I've had a lot of O-line coaches over the years. No one's just like Chris Sweet. He had a lot of unique sayings. I don't think I can say them on air today. I want your show canceled.
Well, we're on the internet.
Anyways, he had a lot of unique sayings, and his biggest thing was you knew he wanted to win football games. You could tell that when they lost, when things slowed down, it really beat him up. And I mean, Coach Sweet gets his guys prepared, make sure they're ready to be there. And, I think we got a great opportunity today. You look at a guy like on the Argos with Peter Nicastro. He's a St. Francis alumni here locally. And, he's had a great career.
There you go.
Little clap,
Yeah.
little clap.
And I believe he came through the Mavericks program as well, which Chevy and I are both coaching now.
I coached him in high school. We won a city championship with the juniors at Francis. A great guy. His dad, John. So, yeah, good to see those guys out there. A lot of Calgary connections, hey?
Oh, there's tons of Calgary connections all over the CFL. I think if you were to look at a hotbeds for football in Canada, Calgary's got to be right near the top. From high school football to the University of Calgary, to all the kids they send to the NCAA, and to all the kids that play pro, it's been a great decade or two here for sure.
Well, and I think a lot of that came to a couple of names you mentioned before. John Forzani and the whole Forzani family has been such a staple of football in this community, as well as Spallettini, Palumbo, Ted Hellard. We have some of the best amateur football field facilities in the country. That we really are blessed to have people like that who's given back to the football community in our city, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you go down to those football fields and you watch games, look at how many former alumni are coaching. From all the different guys that I see, whether it's Jackie Kellogg, Pee Wee Smith, I'm sure I'm going to miss somebody, but there's lots of former, from the Stampeders alumni coaching all over the time. And you know how rare that is and how special that must be for these kids to go see, here's Pee Wee Smith, who played at the U in the 90s, won national championships, played in the CFL, and he's out here coaching the Calgary Colts all the time and doing a lot of work there. So it's been interesting to see a lot of the youth football and how well coached they are and how many, players are involved there.
Well, let's go back to the Grey Cup game that's going to be kicked off today at 4 p.m. Between the Bombers and the Toronto Argonauts. It's the celebration of Canadian football, and it wouldn't be Canadian football without the Canadians in the game. Tell us about some of your favorite Canadians that will be on the field today and a little bit what we should look for today at kickoff.
I'm always interested in the ratio busters, so the guys that play at a very high level and they're Canadian. So Ryan Hunter, the left tackle for the Argos, he was the most outstanding lineman in the CFL, and he's Canadian. So, if anybody doesn't know all the rules, but I think it's 7 or 8 of the starting roster players have to be Canadian. And if they happen to be the best player in the league, well, that doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
So Brady Oliveira would be the other one. He's the running back for the Blue Bombers, and he won most outstanding player and most outstanding Canadian in the league, so he's another ratio buster. Another big one is DBs. You look at Tyrell Ford playing there, the Blue Bombers. These guys will all be all over the game. It'll be interesting to see what they accomplish, and I'm really interested to see if the most outstanding player in the Grey Cup is a Canadian this year. That doesn't happen too often. There's a good opportunity for it this year.
That would be great. That would be absolutely great. And you mentioned these names, right? Ryan Hunter, Tyrell Ford, Brady Oliveira. Looking at all these guys down the list, is Canadian football talent better than it's ever been, in your mind?
there's no question in my mind it's better than it's ever been. So when I played NCAA football 2006 to 2010, there was about 25 Canadians that played in the NCAA. Last I heard right now there's 200.
Yeah, wow.
And now you look at the NFL.
Right.
Fifth highest played running back, Chubba Hubbard from Sherwood Park, and then the brothers Brown.
Right. If you look last year, there was more Canadians on the LA Chargers than there was on the LA Kings.
Yeah.
So
that's crazy.
The transition has been a lot here over the last decade of the different players have been playing and getting opportunities. And then, you look at from the NCAA, you look at then you go look at U Sports. They put 2 offensive tackles to the NFL from just one university from UBC last year. How often does that happen?
It doesn't.
So,
and you talk about ratio busters. Back in the day, we're going to have Jesse Lumsden on, but something came up. But you talk about Jesse Lumsden. He was the first Canadian running back that got a chance to start in 2007, I think, 2006, I think it was. Now, since that time, when I think of a ratio buster, I think of your Terrell Fords, the guys, Oliveras, at skilled positions that used to be, all you'd see is a couple of offensive linemen, maybe your free safety, and a couple of defensive linemen. The skill level at the skill positions is just off the charts right now.
Yeah, no, it's really improved, and you can see guys everywhere. Almost every CFL team now runs 4 American D linemen. That's not the way it used to be, right? And then now you look, almost every team has, they can go Canadian offensive tackles, Canadian running backs. There's always Canadian wide receivers. So just where you put the Canadians has been, now it's anyone's guess. It doesn't necessarily have to be O-line, D-line, free safety, kickers, punters. It could be, skill positions, guys that score touchdowns, guys that win most outstanding player, guys that are in the conversation for most outstanding defensive player. They're everywhere.
All right, we're going to get to your prediction in a second, but after this game, someone's going to hoist the trophy, the confetti's going to fall. We're going to close the lights on this season. The 111th Grey Cup is going to be done by about 8 p.m. After that, the CFL will be looking for a new commissioner. You are a huge CFL fan, a huge backer. You analyze, you bring people to the games. They give you an opportunity to be CFL commissioner for a day. What is your first order of business, John?
That's a fantastic question. I think you're looking for engagement from sponsors, TV, getting people in the crowd. I think that there's still very few pro leagues that are still gate driven because the TV contracts are so big. I think one of the big things I'd look at doing is shopping the TV contract out. I know TSN's been a great provider, but I think what they did with adding CTV this year gives you more potential eyeballs. Getting the streaming services on board, a lot like what you guys are doing, but getting Amazon Prime, Netflix, whoever it might be, getting more people involved that way, and just getting more media analysis. I know that through no fault of the CFL, but we've seen media in Canada get gutted over the last decade. The local programs have been shutting down, and when I went to a Stampeders practice when we were playing, there would be a media board and it would have 10 or 12 different media people that they would want to have come talk. I went to a practice a couple weeks ago. There was 2 up there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So there's not nearly as many media covering, and you should have more media. And if you have to create your own media, you should go do that.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, I'll tell you what. When you are commissioner for the day and you bring in more networks, just make sure you don't do what the CFL did earlier this season when they had the CTV game at the same time as the TSN game. We can't be cannibalizing our own market. But
absolutely.
In terms of streaming, one last quick question. With kids today, I've got kids that are 13 and 17. They don't watch TV. They don't know what cable is. What do you think the opportunities are in streaming? How are we going to get this game out to the kids? Because I think that's, when you go to the games, it's still a bunch of guys that look like us.
Right. No, I think when you have streaming, I think that you have to get games involved, whether it's mini games. I know a lot of kids around my age grew up kids. I'm 37 now, but they grew up playing, Madden and different games like that. And whether it's a computer game or something you can do like that that's a little bit more interactive and then get them involved, I think that would be very interesting, and getting those things. But streaming is great because, then, we look at the household. It was like back when we were growing up, it was probably 1 or 2 TVs, and now a lot of households have, between tablets, computer screens, there's probably 8 or 9 different opportunities to go watch different things and trying to get more people involved that way. So, just, finding ways to get them watching the games, excited about the games, and, knowing that that's my, former coach's son or whatever it might be, she'll certainly help.
Well, John, we're going to have to take a break here, but speaking of excitement, before we let you go, the excitement's building, 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We got that kickoff coming. Blue Bombers, Argonauts. Who do you want to win, and who do you think is going to win, and are they different?
That's a great question. I would like the Winnipeg Blue Bombers to win. I like the storyline of the dynasty and the big team that's going to have an opportunity. But, like I mentioned, there's other storylines there, too. Like, if Nick Arbuckle could knock them off, I think that's a very interesting storyline. But if I was a betting man and looking at this, I'd probably be leaning towards the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. I don't think that, started this week at a 10.5-point spread, got down to 8.5. I'd expect it to be within one score, somewhere in that 5 to 7 points. I expect the Blue Bombers to win.
Awesome. Well, thanks, John, for joining us. This is great. Guys, we're live at the Hitman's Bar. Our show is going to be wrapping up in about a half hour. We're not done yet. We've got lots to go, including the excellence of execution. Brett the Hitman Hart is going to be joining us next. But you can join us at Hitman's Bar, downtown Calgary, inside Calgary, Cowboys Casino. We're brought to you by Performance Freight Management, We Drone Real Estate Media, Atlas Mortgage Group, Megapix, YYC Business, and of course, the Hitman's Bar is hosting us. We're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, like I said, Brett the Hitman Hart himself is going to join us to talk a little bit about football and a little bit about the experience today. Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Performance Freight Management is a global logistic freight shipping company that will handle the entire shipping process for any package to any country. Whether it be a simple truck shipment from your office to Toronto or your company importing generators from China, PFM Freight handles it all. We have the expertise and technology to handle any shipping requirements. Skip the guesswork and let us take the shipping pain off your plate.
Mortgages can be confusing, and every one of your dollars count. Atlas Mortgage Group will protect you and fight for the best possible rate. They're here for you. They're here to make the mortgage process simple, accessible, and effortless. With their strong relationships with major banks and lenders, they've done $50 million in funded mortgages. 10 brokers, 30 different lenders, over 1,000 happy clients. You can be next. Atlas Mortgage Group. atlasmortgagegroup.ca.
Now open inside Cowboys Casino in the heart of downtown Calgary. Welcome to Hitman's Bar. Come for the food, the drinks, and the ambiance. You may catch a glimpse of the excellence of execution himself. Perfect for any corporate party or gathering. Hitman's Bar, the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be.
Performance Freight Management is a global logistic freight shipping company that will handle the entire shipping process for any package to any country. Whether it be a simple truck shipment from your office to Toronto or your company importing generators from China, PFM Freight handles it all. We have the expertise and technology to handle any shipping requirements. Skip the guesswork and let us take the shipping pain off your plate.
Mortgages can be confusing, and every one of your dollars count. Atlas Mortgage Group will protect you and fight for the best possible rate. They're here for you. They're here to make the mortgage process simple, accessible, and effortless. With their strong relationships with major banks and lenders, they've done $50 million in funded mortgages. 10 brokers, 30 different lenders, over 1,000 happy clients. You can be next. Atlas Mortgage Group, atlasmortgagegroup.ca.
Now open inside Cowboys Casino in the heart of downtown Calgary. Welcome to Hitman's Bar. Come for the food, the drinks, and the ambiance. You may catch a glimpse of the excellence of execution himself. Perfect for any corporate party or gathering. Hitman's Bar, the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be.
Welcome back to the ride, everybody. And I'll tell you what, Chevy and I have been doing a lot of talking here today, but for the first time tonight, I'm sitting here a little bit starstruck. Yes, we are at Hitmen's Bar at the Cowboys Casino in Calgary, and sitting with us right now, the excellence of execution, Brett the Hitman Hart himself. Brett, welcome to the show, and I'm so honored to that you invited us in to be here with you today.
Well, it's a very special day. Grey Cup's a big thing in Canada, and it's important to get with it.
Yeah, I'm going to get you to just point that mic a little closer there.
A little closer?
Yeah,
All
there
right.
we go. Yeah.
So, Brett, when I saw a few weeks ago that you were going to be here hosting a Grey Cup party, I thought, gosh, maybe, just maybe. And I texted you if we could host a pregame show, and you said, yeah, let's. I think it's a great idea. What is Grey Cup Sunday for Brett the Hitman Hart? Because obviously you got the wrestling background. Like, what's your attachment to football?
Oh, I have a big attachment to football. I think in some ways that I wish I could have had a career as a football player instead of a pro wrestler. You know, I love football. I played all through high school, and it's just a matter of taking a left turn instead of a right turn. And I end up being a pro wrestler. But I always thought about playing at the CFL. I always thought it was possible. I was a pretty good football player in high school.
Well, and it was a good football city, too, because there's a lot of guys that came up through Calgary high school programs and went on to play in the CFL and some in the NFL.
Yeah, and, you know, it's funny, through my wrestling career, there's so many wrestlers that I know that played CFL and played professional football, but Jim Duggan, I think, played with the Argos. Yep. And then there was George Wells, who played with the Rough Riders for years. George Wells was such a great wrestler, but he was also, you know, I think he's still got some records here in Canada for most tackles in a season, and most tackles in a game. And he was such a great guy to know, and he was a big advocate for the CFL. For years, he used to tell me the CFL is the best. It's the best football game, like better than the NFL. He liked the rules of the CFL.
And you talk about a connection between wrestling and football, Brett. A lot of former Calgary Stampeders have won their way through your dad's dungeon, the famous Stu Hart's dungeon. Can you tell a little bit about why there was always that connection?
No, I was a little kid and was there. I remember my dad training John Helton in the basement, and John Helton was such a nice guy, and he'd be down there screaming with everyone else, and but he ended up being a pretty good wrestler. And for me, it was just always that association with wrestlers. Even Angelo Mosca, for years I knew down east when I was wrestling in Toronto and stuff like that. He would always come around. There's just always been a strong connection. Even my dad, believe it or not, played football with the Edmonton Eskies in 1937-38. And Gene Kiniski, of course, played with the Eskimos, and Fritz von Erich played with the Eskimos. You know, it's like there's just such a history of wrestlers that tried to play football and got washed up in the wrestling business. I'm not sure if that's a good thing but I would say that most of the guys that left football and became wrestlers became big names.
You know, and I see the similarities because they're both like the ultimate expression of physical, right? It's just that when you're in wrestling, you're under the mic, the camera's on you, and the spotlight's out there, and you get to bring your personality out more than a lot of just general football players. But it's funny that you said you would have just been just as happy playing professional football. When a lot of us growing up, we looked at the WWF, WWE superstars as our role models, our heroes. And then I think to a guy like Dwayne Johnson, who I think you had quite an impact on his career as well. He was in the same locker room that Chevy and I were, calling his mom, crying that his football journey had come to an end. And the way that he was able to spin that around and turn that into, an outstanding wrestling career.
Yeah, he. I know people that said that Dwayne Johnson was one of the all-time greatest football players ever. That he just never got a break. He was, he was such a nice guy. I think that may have held him back sometimes, being too nice a guy. But he was always a class act in wrestling, and I know that his heart was with football. And I think wasn't he thinking about buying the CFL and the XFL, and putting them together or something like that?
Yeah, well, a couple of years ago, I think during COVID, they had talks with the CFL and XFL, and we don't know what happened behind closed doors, but it never materialized as to any sort of formal partnership for sure. Brett, let me ask you, because you talk about wrestling, football, how big it was to you. We're here live at the Hitman's Bar, and we'll talk about this bar in a second. But not only does it go beyond for you, but now you have some, your grandkids play for the Calgary Cowboys. Can you tell us a little bit about that? I saw your Instagram post the other day. I think Trey's going to put it up here. There's a picture of you and your grandsons. Steve and Jade are out there. Tell us a little bit about that and how special that is to see your kids run on the football field.
It's really special. I had both my grandsons both playing football this year, and they love it. They
what
both,
positions we got and their names?
There was Bo Lambrose, who's my youngest grandson. He was quarterback most of the season, and he's got a pretty good arm, so I think he's going to keep playing quarterback. And then I have a grandson named Grayson, and he really wanted to play quarterback, but then he changed his mind and seems to love tackling guys. So I think he kind of could go both ways, either quarterback or defensive.
He's got the mind for the game.
It's always more fun tackling guys, I think, than getting tackled. But
oh yeah, yeah, I like hitting. I always like hitting guys. So we're in your bar. It's the Hitman's Bar. You see, you took a left in the career instead of a right. You wind up being the 5-time WWE champion, 2-time Intercontinental Championship, 5-time Tag Team Champion. I mean, the list goes on. You're an international icon. I love that you're just such a humble guy, but you've got this bar. It's got your name on it. It's got your memorabilia all over the place. How special is that for you to share your legacy with, as Jamal said, people come from all over the world just for a glimpse of this. How special is that for you?
Well, I've always taken a lot of pride in being from Calgary, and I think in my own small way, I think I helped put Calgary on the map. I mean, I remember when I first started wrestling in WWF, a lot of guys didn't know where Calgary was. The only connection to Calgary was the Flames or the Stampede. And now, of course, I think Calgary's pretty much known around the world. But I've always been really lucky that my career took off when it did, and wrestling had a turnaround. Imagine if I'd spent my whole life wrestling at Stampede Wrestling, it might not be so glorious right now. But I was lucky to be part of something that was just starting back in the mid 80s with WWF and that whole thing. But I take a lot of pride in all that. I worked really hard to be the best wrestler I could be all the time, and I had so many great memories working for my father. And the thing I learned from Stampede Wrestling was just the knowledge and what I needed to do to keep climbing up the ladder. And I do look back when I first went into wrestling in WWF in 1984 was when I started. It was such a long shot to think I would climb up to the very top of the ladder and be the champion someday. But I think that was my mindset. Is like I remember kind of telling myself I'm as good as anyone else in the dressing room, and it's just going to take a little while for people to get familiar with me and start to understand me. One of the things that worked well for me was, I've always had this belief that certain cities in the United States had a long history of professional wrestling. Like Madison Square Garden, they had wrestling in there since the 1920s, and Boston Garden had wrestling going on. The Montreal Forum. That's where wrestling started. Really, is in some of those big cities in the East Coast.
Thought we weren't supposed to mention Montreal.
Chev, come on, man.
You told me that last time I was at your dinner table. You said, we don't talk about Montreal in my house. You said that to
we
me.
make exceptions. But anyway, I was really lucky to be part of something, and I will say I never gave up on pursuing that dream and becoming the champion. And if anything, people sometimes think I take all that too serious, and I always took a lot of pride in how hard I worked to get where I did, and I always look back on old matches that I had, and I compare them to people's matches today, and I'll take a Hitman match over most of what guys are doing today.
Yeah, so we.
Yeah, now, so we'll please. There. I think a lot of people would agree with that. You talked about how hard it was, and I imagine in a business like wrestling, there's many parts to it. One, your execution had to be flawless, night in and night out, always working on the craft. But was it ever frustrating to know that outside of another part of it would have been winning over the fans, right, and having the people worldwide chanting your name to get to the opportunity to become a champion, right? There's some things that aren't in your control in that business too, aren't there?
Oh, a million things are not in your control. Wrestling's basically a performance art. It's not. I don't want to break it. It's hard. It's not real. But it's.
Boo.
Except for my matches. But I always. I grew up watching Stampede wrestling, and the best wrestling always has to pretend to be real. To me, it's got to seem real all the time, and if it seems real, then it's fun for me to watch. And I always try to make it real all the time. Everything I did, everything was based on being a real wrestler. I was city and provincial champion here, and my dad was Canadian heavyweight amateur champion back in the 30s. So it was in our blood to be real wrestlers. But pro wrestling's so much easier than amateur wrestling. That it's more. It's like Shakespeare in Love, the movie. Wrestling is like, it's all about personalities in the back, and the things that you got to overcome in wrestling. The challenges that I had would be with your fellow wrestlers. When you got wrestlers that just don't want to do anything for you. I was a promoter's kid, so my dad was a big name in wrestling. And you'd think that would be an advantage, but most of the time being a promoter's kid was a hindrance, because it was like, the only reason he's here is because his dad put him here. Wow. And so I always had to fight against that and work against that, and wrestle guys that didn't necessarily want to cooperate with me or give me a good match. Or wrestling's one of those things, it's all about trust. You have to trust the guy you're working with, and it's a funny thing in wrestling where someone will body slam you on the mat and then climb up on the top rope, and you'll watch him climb up, and it's like you're thinking in your head, you're going, I hope this guy knows what he's doing, because the sort of law in wrestling is you have to stay there. You can't move. He's going to try to jump off the top rope on me, and it's like, I hope that he knows what he's doing, because I can't move. I'm by rule, it's like you have to lie still and perfectly still, because if you move, it'd be your fault that you got hurt. So it's, and then the guy jumps off and will drop a knee on your chest or your neck or something, and it's that sort of trust that you start to know guys that you can trust, and it's like, let me put it this way: if Psycho Sid was climbing up on the top rope, he'd want to move.
Well, I tell you what, Brett, it took a lot of trust for us to come here today, put this on. I know nothing about tech. We trusted our team to put it together. We're streaming live on the internet. We're here at the bar. You talked about the heart and of a champion, and that was your vision. We're talking today about football. The Grey Cup is being played today. We got a couple minutes before we got to take a break and wrap this up. You're hosting the party. I don't know if you remember, but you came on our show probably over 15 years ago to promote Aladdin at the Jube. That was your role that you came on our show to talk about on the Fan 960, and here we are today promoting your Grey Cup party. Can people come down? Can they get an opportunity to shake your hand today, and then give us a prediction for the game?
Oh, I'm always available for a quick autograph and maybe a picture or something like that. I like to be around my fans. Like I'm not bothered by fans that come up and have something nice to say to me about my career or whatever. I appreciate all that, and I find it, it's easier to just to embrace all that stuff rather than I'm too busy right now for a picture or whatever. Like it's just easier to take the picture, But I'm always believed, and maybe I got that from my dad, that it's always best to be good to your fans because it pays off down the road.
Awesome. Well, so we're going to take a break in a second. We got the Argonauts, we got the Bombers. You're going to be here for the game today. I asked this question of everyone that came on. Who do you want to win, but who do you think will win?
For me, it's the same. I'm going to go with the West, of course. But I'm. It's funny. My favorite team in the East has always been Toronto, because I always liked the blue and white as a kid. But so I'm part of me is kind of leaning towards Toronto, but I got to go with the West, and I got to go with the Bombers. But I like the. There's a history of the underdog always prevailing in the Grey Cup, and that reminds me of so many of my wrestling matches. But there's a nice element of surprise with this game, where it's like it would be a sweet game to watch Toronto upset everybody and win it. But I'm a firm believer that the Bombers have the edge in this one today.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But they say they got to play the game. They got to play the game. That's the only way we're going to know for sure. Brett, Sheldon and I, we appreciate you taking time from your day to come down and join us at your bar. Guys, if you're listening at home and you're in Calgary, come on down. The excellence of execution himself is here. We're here. We're going to be here straight through to the end of the game. It promises to be a great game with a lot of drama. We're the Ride. We're Chevy and Nasty. This is our pregame Grey Cup preview, the 111th Grey Cup. When we get back, we're going to take it home, Sheldon.
In the meantime, guys, let's hear for Bret Hart, our host.
Thank you. Thank you.
Performance Freight Management is a global logistic freight shipping company that will handle the entire shipping process for any package to any country. Whether it be a simple truck shipment from your office to Toronto or your company importing generators from China, PFM Freight handles it all. We have the expertise and technology to handle any shipping requirements. Skip the guesswork and let us take the shipping pain off your plate.
Mortgages can be confusing, and every one of your dollars count. Atlas Mortgage Group will protect you and fight for the best possible rate. They're here for you. They're here to make the mortgage process simple, accessible, and effortless. With their strong relationships with major banks and lenders, they've done $50 million in funded mortgages. 10 brokers, 30 different lenders, over 1,000 happy clients. You can be next. Atlas Mortgage Group. atlasmortgagegroup.ca.
Now open inside Cowboys Casino in the heart of downtown Calgary. Welcome to Hitman's Bar. Come for the food, the drinks, and the ambiance. You may catch a glimpse of the excellence of execution himself. Perfect for any corporate party or gathering. Hitman's Bar, the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be.
Performance Freight Management is a global logistic freight shipping company that will handle the entire shipping process for any package to any country. Whether it be a simple truck shipment from your office to Toronto or your company importing generators from China, PFM Freight handles it all. We have the expertise and technology to handle any shipping requirements. Skip the guesswork and let us take the shipping pain off your plate.
Mortgages can be confusing and every one of your dollars count. Atlas Mortgage Group will protect you and fight for the best possible rate. They're here for you. They're here to make the mortgage process simple, accessible, and effortless. With their strong relationships with major banks and lenders, they've done 50 million in funded mortgages. 10 brokers, 30 different lenders, over 1,000 happy clients. You can be next. Atlas Mortgage Group. atlasmortgagegroup.ca.
Now open inside Cowboys Casino in the heart of downtown Calgary. Welcome to Hitman's Bar. Come for the food, the drinks, and the ambiance. You may catch a glimpse of the excellence of execution himself. Perfect for any corporate party or gathering. Hitman's Bar, the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be.
Welcome back to the ride, everybody. Chevy and I coming to you live from Hitman's Bar. And guys, you just saw it. The Hitman himself joined us, was gracious enough to join us on the show. And I'll tell you what, my cousin Kurt, one of our sponsors, said, do you get starstruck? Do you get nervous? I said, I don't get nervous about anything. But it's an honor to sit here in the Hitman's Bar with a Hitman giving us his time and telling us some stories. That was amazing.
Well, I tell you what, the room is buzzing. People are starting to fill in. We got friends. We've got people that listen to the show. We got new listeners to the show. When I pointed out that Brett was sitting there, I don't know if everyone saw him. After that last break, before we welcome him on, there was a hush on the room. The silence was deafening. And for me, that's an indication that everyone in the room is feeling what I feel. And Brett being so gracious to, one, acknowledge the effect he has on people, but also to be present, to as he said, rub shoulders. He just said, well, now it's time to rub shoulders. I love that because, when you think about professional sports and the impact you have, like we have that impact as CFL football players on kids. You remember Aaron Crawford said when Alondra Johnson came to his school and that was the moment. Well, we got grown men in their 40s, 50s, 60s here. Amazing. And Brett has that same effect on him. It is truly magical. And as you said, sitting here with him, honored to be sitting with him. And I went from being just him being my idol to, having a friendship with Brett. And it's still, I can't get over that. I have the ability to text him and say, hey, can we do a pregame show from your bar? And he says, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Like, look at where we are, bud. This is pretty cool.
Yeah,
let's take
cool.
a moment, soak it in, thank the people that got us here, because it wasn't just you and I. It was our team, Performance Freight Management, Megapix YYC Business, Atlas Mortgage Group, We Drone Real Estate Media, and the Hitman's Bar. And all of you that are joining us in person, I can't really see with the lights, and everyone that's listening on the stream on our YouTube channels, Facebook. Again, please like, subscribe, all that stuff. I know Trey's going to put up the stuff later, but yeah, Sheldon, it's been a great couple of hours. We got a few minutes left. Let's do a little recap.
Well, first off, I'm going to recap this on what an outstanding guy he was. When he asked him who he's cheering for, he's a loyal guy, Chev, right? He's the real deal. He stays with the West. He keeps it in the West. It just says his loyalty. Me, on the other hand, I might not quite have the same character as Bret Hart. I'm kind of liking that underdog story, though. You know, and I know there's a lot of you wearing blue out there right now. But, you know, I don't know. There's an underdog story that's about to be told. And we're what, less than 2 hours?
Less than 2 hours to kick off. We'll get to. But, you know, I didn't tell this. I wasn't going to tell this story. But, you know, Bret Hitmen.
Right.
We're going to tell the story. So, you know, Bret and I, we go way back to, again, he's such a gracious guy. I took over the Pink Power program with the Calgary Stampeders in 2012. You know, you were for women's cancers.
And was that his initiative? Is
no,
that
no. So it was for Pink Power, women's cancers. And I was like, man, I said, I don't just want to sell pink T-shirts. I want to raise awareness. And I said, who is the coolest guy
to ever
wear pink? That made wearing pink cool. I was like, well, Bret the Hitman Hart, and I love wrestling. So I reached out to someone that knew him. I said, do you think Bret would want to do this? Right away, he said yes. We did an ad campaign for Pink Power. It was awesome. That's the first time I met the Hitman. We became friends there, and since then we'd have many interactions over the years. But fast forward to 2017, after my 11-year career with the Stampeders ended, you know, I was hanging on for one more. I got my shot with the Riders. As people know, they spelled my name wrong on the jersey. But I remember telling my kids in the schoolyard at lunchtime at École St. Luc that I was going to the Riders. They all dropped to the ground crying. I had the Stampeder guys calling me, getting mad at me because they thought I'd be a Stamp forever. And I was like, well, I still want to play football. This gives me an opportunity. And people were on me. And then I got a text that ding in on my phone. And it's Bret Hart. I was like, oh, like out of the blue. And that's like, I look and he's like, hey, Chev, I'm okay with the heel turn. And, man, that might have been one of the greatest texts I've ever gotten in my life. So for me, this is also fanboy moment.
You better have screenshotted that one.
Oh yeah.
Man.
So this is a great event. We're here live at the Hitman's Bar. The Grey Cup kickoff is in 2 hours. The bar is open. They're starting to play the pregame festivities. Sheldon, let's give some last thoughts on both of the teams, and then we'll make our predictions. So start with the Bombers. What are you thinking for the Bombers? They're going to win if?
They're going to win if they just relax, focus in, and do everything that they've done all season long. They've gone through the adversity this year. They've seen their ups and downs. They've had those moments where they could have panicked and turned. At this point, it's an opportunity for the offense to come together, the offensive line just to trust that they're good enough to handle that defensive line. I'm sure they've got a few wrinkles in there, trust in their techniques, trust in their game plan, trust in each other, and just go out there and execute.
They're definitely the favorites. I think a lot hangs on Zach Collaros and that O-line protecting him. I don't know if Brady Oliveira is going to be as big of a factor in this game. He was a CFL Outstanding Canadian, CFL Most Outstanding Player, but I think it's going to take the cast of characters around. And for me, they're going to go as Nick Dembski goes. If Nick Dembski has a big game, Zach Collaros has a big game, Kenny Lawler has a big game. That's how I see it playing for them. I think they're going to have to kick away from Janarian Grant. I do believe they know what Toronto got when they signed him from them last year, and he's dangerous. So that's what I think Winnipeg has to do. Limit the mistakes and don't think about the legacy. Don't think about the 5 in a row. History means nothing come kickoff. History means nothing, and I think that's what they have to focus on. They have to focus on the now. Toronto, Sheldon.
Well, Toronto, I think Toronto's, the pressure's off of them. Nobody's giving them a chance. We've talked to everybody here tonight. All of our guests say, yeah, it's a great story. But let's face it, it's never happened in the history of football where a guy came in cold and is instantly starting in the Grey Cup game. That's a whole lot of pressure. But Arbuckle's been around. You heard Aaron Crawford say that he's a good quarterback. He's a good player. He's never gotten the breaks, never gotten the shot. If he can just relax and realize the moment that he's in. He's been training for this entire life. He doesn't have to be Superman. They were 5-4 with Chad Kelly. They were 5-4 without him. All he's got to do is beat the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and he's done it once already this season. So he's just got to relax, settle in, and play the game.
And I do think that Toronto on the other side of the ball has the defensive line that matches up perfectly against that Winnipeg Blue Bomber offensive line. And if they can do the things that it takes to disrupt Zach Collaros' concentration. Now, Zach Collaros has been beaten before, right? He's won 2 Grey Cups. He's lost a lot more than he's won. It doesn't mean he's not a great quarterback, but it means he's beatable. And I think Toronto has the right sauce on that defense that they can get to him. If they get to him early and they force him to make mistakes, it could go Toronto's way pretty quickly. They did it against Montreal last week, and nobody expected that. They did it with turnovers, they did it with interceptions, and they did it on special teams with Janarian Grant. So I do believe that as favored as Winnipeg is going into this game, it's actually a lot closer. And it was shown in the score earlier in the season when Toronto won both contests, but they're very low-scoring games. Sheldon, we're a little bit past. We're actually overtime. Usually we have a splitter for overtime. It's 2:04. We want to get some grilled cheese sandwiches that we forgot to ask Brett about. We want to get some steak sandwiches. We want to get some sharpshooter drinks. Before we go,
Predictions?
and this is the locked in, right? This is for the playoff series. We're tied coming into tonight.
Yeah,
right?
so we've got to mention that during the regular season, Chevy and I had the contest going as well, which I walked away with during the regular season.
You did.
Now we're tied on our picks going into the last pick. And guys, I mean, is one of us going to flinch? You know what, Chev? I'm going to do it. I'm going to make the hero call right now. Do I 100% believe it? No, I don't. But I believe that Toronto has a chance. If Arbuckle doesn't throw a pick, and if the defensive line gets after it and disrupts Claros, there's a chance the Blue Bombers are going, or the chance that Argos are going to do with it. I can't even say it. I'm saying there's a chance. So wait, Toronto Argonauts are going to win today, Chev.
You know, this is the joy of a live TV, live podcasting, because we came into this thinking, okay, we got to pick against each other. We can't end in a tie, right? So it was kind of like not scripted, but you know, as Brett said, it's poetic. And I said, well, you know, whatever you pick, I'm going to pick opposite, thinking Sheldon was coming into this Bombers. So I was like, well, I'm going to find a way to script it for Toronto to win so I could pick Toronto. So I've been doing that all episode. I freaking wore blue and white to pick Toronto, but Sheldon stole my pick. So guess what? I'm going to go with where my mind is, not where my heart is. As much as I love the underdog story, I'm going to pick the talent and the power that Winnipeg bring, the experience that they bring to the game, the coaching staff that's there. I'm going to pick the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. So thanks for messing up my pick.
There you go.
But that's okay. That's the beauty of our show. We love it. Partner.
And just a reminder that I think what the bet was over was who's going to be buying lunch at, can we say the restaurant?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, we're at Spolumbos. And so what we're going to do to honor that bet, we're going to invite all you guys down to Spolumbos with us to join us for a sandwich and see
maybe
who's
we'll do
buying
another live show.
Who's lunch. Why not?
Yeah. So listen, guys. First of all, partner, I want to thank you. It took us 12 years to get back on the air. From that time, 12 years earlier when we were in our underwear on the road, and I started talking to a banana. And if you haven't heard that story, you can listen to our show. That's how we got our start. Last year, we took a shot, said, hey, why don't we just try it? And it was trial and error the whole way through. 50 episodes in, we decided that we're going to take a shot to do a live show that we didn't know if we were going to make it on air tonight. And guess what? My mom's watching. I know my mom's watching. We did this in a week. It's a testament to what we can do. You and I, our team, you should be proud. I should be proud. All our guys here, from Boyan on the camera, Trey producing, Marcus back there, Performance Freight Management, We Drone Wheel Street Media, Atlas Mortgage Group, Megapix, YYC Business, and of course the Hitmen's Bar for giving us the space, taking a chance on two lugs that used to play football, know nothing about tech, and here we are. We got a live pregame show. Thank you everyone that showed up to support us here. We're so excited to be hanging out with you today as we watch the pregame. There's some NFL on the screen I see, but at 4 o'clock, I'm dialed in. And my Bombers are going to win, right, Jamin?
Argos!
Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Look forward to seeing you live on Tuesday night. The Ride with Chevy and Nasty. You can join us 10:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time at Chevy and Nasty on YouTube, Facebook. Follow us, like us on Instagram, all that stuff. Thanks for tuning in, and let's go. Let's have a great football game today. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.